Mr. Cody Wall joining his weekly segment here on the show, Off the Wall with Cody. This time a bit later on this Monday night, since this is always a pre-recorded segment. I was super busy tonight, Cody, as you do know. Sure that, you've had some time to relax at home since you've gotten back from work. How's your night been, man?
Yeah, just with us still in the process of moving, been busy doing that a bit, but nice to get a break from that to talk some hockey.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I remember now that you're still in that process of moving. It's a longer process than I thought it would be for you, but great to know that things are still going good with the move. Things are nothing's been getting broken. You haven't dropped anything trying to get the stuff in the house.
Yeah, nothing too bad. It's been dinged or dented or anything like that.
Well, it's good to know. Fingers crossed that it stays that way, right? You
Definitely.
don't have to buy any replacements for those things, right? Let's dive into hockey. We've talked about 2 busy weekends and / weeks of hockey. The previous 2 segments here on Off the Wall with Cody, but not so busy week for us on the network. The one game that was supposed to be shown on the network last week didn't happen due to bad connection with the internet, but it was a game between the Mountain Mustangs and Morden Thunder, and you're going to break it down anyways. This was a 2-1 win for Morden. It was a close game. Just talk about, do you feel like this was going to be expected? I felt like I expected this to be a close game, with 2 top teams going at it. Just the result, just what you thought of it, the 2-1 win by Morden.
Yeah, definitely. When you see 2 teams coming in that are the top of the league, you expect it to be a good, hard-fought battle, and that was the case in the Mountain Mustangs versus the Morden Thunder game last week. Definitely a close game, like you said. It was only 2-1, decided by 1 goal, and kind of had a bit of everything. Had both goaltenders playing exceptionally well. Marcus Scott ended up getting the loss, but still ended up stopping 24 of the 26 saves he had of the shots he had faced. And then for Morden, they had Cole Robertson, who had stopped all but 1, ended up with a .960 save percentage, and for Marcus Scott, .929. So both goaltenders stopped majority of the shots they seen, and just was a good battle between 2 top teams.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned, Marcus Scott getting the loss in this game for Mountain, Cole Robertson for Morden getting the win. But talking about the Thunder, I believe from what I saw on the paper, from what I could tell, like the Mustangs opened up the game with the first goal scored by Tyler Vandeveld. We'll get into him in a little bit here, along with the guy who got the game winner for Morden in that third period. And Akoyan Fair, trying to pronounce that right, getting the game winner for Morden third. But just Morden's ability to bounce back after being down 1-0 to tie this game up. You feel like that was a big, thing for them, getting that goal as soon as they did, for them to keep in this game early on, not letting Mountain go into that second period with the lead?
Yeah, definitely. With only 5 minutes between the 2 goals in the first period, or approximately 5 minutes between the 2 goals, definitely a fairly quick response by Morden, and that definitely, I think, would have helped propel them to the win with keeping it a close game. Sometimes if you go into that first period down by 1 or 2 goals, sometimes it's deflating to the group. But going in tied at 1, definitely saw a good defensive battle in that second period with no goals. And then coming into that third, like you said, Akoyan Fair has scored the game winner with 3 minutes left in the third period, assisted by Bailey Cousins of the Thunder as well.
Yeah, and Mr. Fair, his first name is tough to pronounce. We'll get it at some point here in the year if we ever talk about Morden again. But Morden, coming into this game, still are one of the best defensive teams in the league on paper. Just going up against a team like Mountain, who is such a highly powered offensive team. Morden, a good offensive team as well. But I feel like that, their type of style, the way they want to play, more defensively is something that was key to beating a team like the Mountain Mustangs.
Yeah, definitely. And just looking at their record, like for Morden, they definitely came in with some momentum. Coming into that game, they had been riding a 4-game winning streak. So getting that up to 5, I'm sure the boys in that Thunder dressing room were real excited about that. But just good overall defensive play. Looking at their goals against coming into that game, they only had 15 goals in the 15 goals scored against in the 5 games that they have played so far this year.
Yeah, for sure. And it does suck, Cody, that we can't dive into, how both of these teams looked offensively, exactly how they looked defensively, how they looked on special teams. And, even though we saw that their goaltenders looked good as well, not able to break them down completely because this game wasn't even able to be broadcasted, which is unfortunate due to the bad internet connection. But, one thing that we do know, another thing is that the Stars came to play. Even though Tyler Vandevelde didn't put up his crazy video game-like numbers in this game, only getting 1 goal, for him to get a goal for the Mustangs, and then the leading point getter for the Thunder getting that game-winning goal, a coin fair. How huge it was for these teams to get their stars to come out to play in this game.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, Tyler Vandevelde definitely is a strong player in the Zone 4 league, coming in, like you mentioned, as the leading scorer. And in a tight game like that, you lean on your stars. And Tyler definitely came to play with getting that goal, that opening goal on the night. But as you mentioned, Morden Stars of a coin, I believe, just looking at my stats here, came into that game with
he had about 14
points on the 5 games so far this year. He is, as their leading scorer, definitely was somebody they leaned on heavily in that game.
Yeah, for sure. And it would have been so nice to see these two guys play because, on Seth's inside scoop, Seth talked about these two guys being the players he was looking to be those players to impact the game the most, as players to watch. So it sucks we didn't get to see those players play, but just nice to see them get on the score sheet for their team. Tyler Vandevelde getting on the scoreboard, the only goal for Mountain, even though they lost in that game. But just looking at it, Mountain, I believe, if I do remember correctly, looking at the standings, they've now lost 2 games in a row. The game after, I believe they lost in a shootout of a game, 7-6. I forget against who, but just Mountain, after the 2 losses that they've had, how do you feel like this team is going to be able to get it back and get back into that win column?
Yeah, they're definitely going to depend on their offensive stars to get them back into the win column. Sometimes when you go on a bit of a stretch where you're having a bit of bad luck and the bounces maybe aren't going your way, you definitely look to those offensive stars to step up and kind of will your team to the win. Another player they'll look to is their goaltender. Looking at the stats, their goaltending has definitely been. They have one of the stronger goaltenders as well in the Zone 4 league.
Yeah, for sure. Goaltending, like we've seen and people have seen, is such a huge part of a team's success. Look at the Winnipeg Jets in that series against Edmonton, Connor Hellebuck last year in the playoffs, and then, of course, Carey Price's whole playoff run. Like, goaltending is huge. Gonna throw out another name, Sam DePoe of the Belleville Barracudas. They rode him all playoffs long. From what I remember, he ended up, I believe, getting playoff MVP for that team and led Belleville, even though they had a great team in front of them, to their first high school hockey championship on out of the Malin female teams in school history. So goaltending, definitely a huge part of any team's success. Obviously, you need offense and defense and everything else that goes into a successful hockey team, good dressing room as well. So yeah, Mountain definitely looking to their goaltenders to also keep up their strong play. But for Morden, they were riding, like you said, and like you said, with a 4-game win streak into that game, a 5-game win streak after that, extending it to 5. I'm not sure what happened after. I believe they might have lost their next game, but for Morden, they've been one of the strongest teams in the league so far. How do you see them keeping up the success that they've had going into the later parts of the season?
Yeah, looking at Mountain, a lot of their momentum is generated from one or two players, whereas for Morden it seems like they do it a little bit more by committee. They do a little bit more. They don't have one standout guy that is head and shoulders above the rest. They have a team full of guys who work together and are able to squeak out the wins, be able to come out hard every shift and will their team to win on any given night. You can have contributions from anyone in the lineup.
Yeah, depth, huge thing coming into that game for them. Of course, they got 2 different goal scorers. Obviously, the star of their team, offensively, their leading point getter in Quinn Fair coming to play and getting that final goal for them to seal it. But yeah, Morden definitely, like you said, looking to lean on their depth as the season continues. Cody, it was a very short edition of your segment this week on Coffee with Cream Off the Wall with Cody, but as always great to have you here on the show on Monday night. Until next time, man, I know that we'll have more games to talk about next week on the segment, but until then, you stay safe out there, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, Graham. We'll see you then.